Welcome back. So today we are going to study elasticity of demand, and this chapter is a really easy one. Also, we are going to solve certain questions by the end of this lecture. So without a further ado, let's get started. So first of all, let us talk about that why do we really need elasticity, and that too of demand. We have already studied the law of demand and we talked about the inverse relationship between price and the quantity demanded. As prices increase, quantity demanded decreases. We know the inverse relationship very well. So the law of demand only tells us the direction of change, that if the prices are going to rise, the quantity demanded is going to fall. It is just indicating the direction in which the quantity demand would change. But it does not tell us the magnitude, the amount, or the extent of that change. It does not actually tell us how much change occurred. In short, it does not indicate how much the quantity demanded changes when price changes. It just tells you that as prices are going to rise, the quantity demanded is going to fall. But it does not tell you by how much. It does not specify the quantity of the demand which is changed as a result of change in price. So the concept of elasticity of demand was developed precisely to measure the magnitude of change. And in order to calculate the change in the demand due to the change in price, we use the elasticity of demand. The term was introduced by Professor Alfred Marshall in his book Principles of Economics. It is now central to both economic theory and applied economics. Let us see this example right here. Suppose the price of a computer falls by 20%. According to the law of demand, quantity demanded of computers will increase, but the law does not tell us by how much. So they are saying that price of the computer falls. So what is going to happen to the demand? With the inverse relationship, we can know that the quantity demanded of the computer is going to rise. But by how much? Do we know that? Not really. So elasticity of demand, it helps us to know how much the change has occurred in the quantity demanded. Alright, so now let us see what elasticity of demand is. Demand for a commodity is affected by several factors: its own price, consumer income, and prices of related goods. I think we had also made a demand function. So for example, demand for a commodity X is affected by its own price, which is price of the commodity X, price of related goods, which I am denoting by P or Y, and the income of the consumer, and so on. So there are multiple factors which are affecting the demand for a commodity. So elasticity of demand refers to the percentage change in demand for a commodity with respect to the percentage change in any of the factors affecting the demand. So how much the quantity demanded changed due to multiple factors like price of the commodity, price of the related commodity, and the income of the consumer. Okay. So we are going to see the formula of elasticity of demand, which we can write it as ED, right? So it is the percentage change in demand for X divided by the percentage change in a factor affecting the demand for X. So how much the quantity has basically changed with respect to the change in one of the factors which is affecting the demand. It could be either the own price of the commodity, the price of the related commodities, or income of the consumer. So we have three types of elasticities which we are going to study, but here we are just going to study the price elasticity of demand. So first is the price elasticity. Here we are going to calculate the percentage change in demand with respect to the percentage change in the price of the given commodity. So with respect to P of X. What is cross elasticity? So it is the percentage change in demand with respect to the percentage change in the price of the related commodity, which is PY, right? The related commodity could be either substitute good or the complementary good. If I talk about the income elasticity, so the percentage change in the demand with respect to the change in the income of the consumer. So when the income of the consumer changes, for example, it rises, So what is the effect of that rise in the consumer's income on the quantity demanded of a commodity? So we are going to calculate all the elasticities of demand, but in this lecture we are just going to study the price elasticity of demand. So price elasticity of demand means the degree of responsiveness of demand for a commodity with reference to change in the price of that commodity. When the price of a commodity changes, what is the result on its quantity demanded? So we are going to calculate that degree of responsiveness. How is the demand going to respond to the change in price? We are going to calculate that. Let us see this example right here. If price elasticity of demand is -2, so why minus? Because we know that demand curve is a downward sloping curve. So when we are going to calculate the slope, for example, we are going to get a negative sign. Of 1% fall in price leads to a 2% rise in demand. So when I said that my price elasticity of demand is -2, so that basically means that my 1% fall in price leads to a 2% rise in demand, or a 1% rise in price leads to a 2% fall in the demand. Alright. So this is how the price elasticity could be inferred. Now let us see some noteworthy points right here. First of all, it establishes a quantitative relationship between quantity demanded and price while other factors remaining constant. So whenever I am calculating the price elasticity of demand, the other factors which are affecting the demand, for example, the price of the related goods or the income of the consumer is kept constant, okay, and I'm just focusing on one factor, which is the price of the own commodity P of X, and then I've kept both the factors, which are the price of the related goods and the income, to be constant. So I'm putting a bar right here. That means that I've kept these factors as constant. Now the higher the numerical value of elasticity, the larger the effect of a price change on quantity demanded. Okay, if your elasticity is 2, right, that means that a 1% fall in price leads to a 2% rise in demand. If the elasticity of demand is 3, considering the absolute value of the price elasticity of demand, then that means that a 1% fall in price leads to a 3% rise in demand. So the higher the numerical value of elasticity, the larger would be the effect of change in price on the quantity demanded. For some goods, a price change causes a greater change in demand. For others, only a small change in demand occurs. We are going to see some goods as well. Price is unless stated otherwise. So elasticity of demand by itself always means the price elasticity of demand. So when you have been given that calculate the elasticity of demand, so it basically is sometimes interchangeably used with price elasticity of demand. Now let us see the percentage method for measuring the elasticity of demand. So this is the most common method, okay, and it was introduced by Professor Marshall. It is also known as the flux method, the proportionate method, or the mathematical method. So elasticity of demand, or the price elasticity of demand, is basically calculated by percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. Okay. So first of all, we are going to understand certain terms. So if you see percentage change in quantity demanded, it basically means that we are going to calculate the change. How the change is calculated? By delta Q. Delta Q basically means that I am calculating Q1 minus Q. What is Q1 minus Q? So Q1 is my new quantity and Q is my old quantity. So when I subtract my new quantity with the old quantity, I get my delta Q. Delta basically here means change. How much your quantity has changed. Okay. So when I need to calculate change in quantity, I am going to subtract my new quantity with my initial quantity, right? And then when I am going to divide it by my initial quantity, I would, and multiply it by 100, I would get my percentage change in quantity demanded. Fine. If I want to calculate the percentage change in price, it is going to be the same. Let us see that as well. So change in price. P1 minus P upon P into 100. So what did we basically calculate? We calculated the change in price first and then we calculated the percentage change in price. Fine. When we are going to solve the questions, it is going to be easier for you to understand the concept. Now this is known as the proportionate method. So we talked about the percentage method. So this is the proportionate method. So the percentage method can be converted into the proportionate method by substituting the component formulas into the elasticity of demand. Let us see how it is done, okay? So we know first of all that ED is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded. So I am denoting it by QD upon percentage change in price. Alright. So now I already explained to you how do we calculate the percentage change in quantity demanded. Delta Q upon the initial quantity into 100. Okay, this is my percentage change in quantity demanded. And now I have to divide it by percentage change in price. So what is going to be the formula? Delta P upon P multiplied by 100. Can I cancel out 100 and 100 from here? I'll make some space. Okay. So I'm left with delta Q upon delta, okay, Q also is left. Q upon delta P upon P, okay. Now delta Q upon Q into delta P upon P, okay. So now can I rearrange this equation as somewhat this, that delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P upon Q. So this is what my formula is. Delta Q divided by delta P, okay, multiplied by P divided by Q. So this is your proportionate method. It is a more simpler version of the percentage method, okay. So see this example right here. Calculate price elasticity of demand if demand increases from 4 units to 5 units due to a fall in the price. So we are going to see what happens to the elasticity when the price falls. So here the initial price was 10 and it fell to 8. Okay. Now tell me, how am I going to calculate the percentage change in price? I already told you, first calculate the change in price. So what was the formula for change in price? P1 minus P0. Calculate 8 minus 10, right? Because my new price is 8 and my initial price was 10. So I get minus 2. Okay, how to calculate the percentage change in price? So I'm writing here that my delta P came out to be minus 2. Okay, so if I want to calculate the percentage change in price, so it was minus 2, which is delta P upon the initial price, which was 10 multiplied by 100. Minus 20%. Similarly, I am going to find the change in quantity and the percentage change in quantity, which is going to be somewhat 25%. So when I am going to divide 25% with minus 20, I am going to get minus 5 upon 4, which is going to give me minus 1.25. Okay. So when we are calculating the elasticity, we consider the absolute value of the elasticity of demand. Absolute value of minus 1.25 is 1.25, right? So the demand is highly elastic. We are going to see different kinds of elasticity of demand as well. So the demand is highly elastic here because ED comes out to be greater than 1. So what happens to the elasticity when price rises? Okay, here the price rises from 8 to 10. Demand falls from 5 to 4 units. Calculate the elasticity of demand. So when we are going to calculate the change in quantity, we are going to get 4 minus 5 upon 5, okay, multiplied by 100, which is going to be minus 20%. And if I am going to calculate the change in price, it is going to be 10 minus 8 divided by 8, which is my initial price, into 100, which is going to give me 25%. So minus 20 divided by 25% is going to be minus 0.8. So ED comes out to be 0.8 because we consider the absolute value, ignoring the negative sign. So this is less elastic because it is less than 1. So when prices of different commodities change, quantity demanded reacts differently for each. So demand for medicines, if I talk about, or a needle, it responds very little to price change because they are necessities for my life. If I have to take some medicine and if its price rises, I'm going to still buy that medicine because it is very essential for my life, for me. Okay? Compared to an AC or a DVD player, the purchasing of an AC or a DVD player could be postponed, okay, but not of medicines. Fine. So price elasticity of demand, it ranges numerically from 0 to infinity. So we talk about the ED, okay. So it ranges from 0 to infinity. Fine. So if your elasticity of demand is infinity, it is a perfectly elastic case, okay. If it is 0, it is perfectly inelastic. If it is greater than 1, highly elastic. If it is less than 1, less elastic. And if it is equal to 1, it is unitary elastic. We are going to see these cases one by one, okay. Okay, perfectly elastic demand. So when your elasticity of demand is infinity. So when there is an infinite demand at a particular price, for example, can you see the price 30? It has infinite demand. That means that the price is constant. It is 30, right? But our demand is increasing at the same price. So 100, 200, 300. So when there is infinite demand at a particular price and demand becomes 0 with a slight rise in price, if I'm going to change the price from 30 to maybe 40 here, it is going to become 0. The demand is going to become 0, right? So the demand for that commodity is said to be perfectly elastic, and the demand curve DD, if you can see, it is a horizontal straight line which is parallel to the x-axis. Fine. So it must be also noted that perfectly elastic demand is an imaginary or theoretical situation. It does not occur for the real commodities. It's just an imaginary situation. It is just an hypothetical situation. Now, let us discuss the perfectly inelastic demand, where the elasticity of demand is equal to 0. So when there is no change in the demand, however much the price changes, demand for that commodity is said to be perfectly inelastic. Can you see, as I'm increasing the price from 20, 30, 40, my demand is the same at 100. So this is 100, okay, and then I'm increasing my price to probably 20, then to probably 30, then to probably 40. But my demand is constant at 100, right? So here the elasticity of demand is going to be 0. The demand curve DD, it is a vertical straight line which is parallel to the x-axis. Okay, so it must be noted that perfectly inelastic demand is also an imaginary or hypothetical situation. Fine. Highly elastic demand. So whenever your elasticity of demand comes out to be greater than 1, that situation is termed as a highly elastic demand. So when the percentage change in quantity demanded is more than the percentage change in price, demand is said to be highly elastic. Just see here, what is the percentage change in price? Can you calculate it? 10 minus 20 upon 20, 10 minus 20 upon 20 multiplied by 100. So it comes out to be 5. 10 into 5 is 50%. Okay. And what is the change in my quantity demanded? Calculated. 200 minus 100 is 100 divided by 100 into 100. What is the percentage change in my quantity demanded? 100%. And what is the percentage change in my price? 50%. So what is greater? Percentage change in quantity demanded is greater than percentage change in price. In such a situation, your elasticity of demand is going to be more than 1, and the curve is flatter and it is inclined more towards the x-axis. Fine. So can you see this curve is flatter right here? 1 second. and it is inclined more towards the x-axis because there is a greater change in the quantity demanded, and we take the quantity demanded to be on the x-axis. Okay. So commodities like AC, DVD players, etc., they generally have highly elastic demand. That basically means that when the price is going to change, either a fall in the price or a rise in the price, it is going to greatly affect the demand for the commodities like AC and DVD. Now let us talk about the less elastic demand. Here, elasticity of demand is less than 1. When the percentage change in quantity demanded is less than the percentage change in price. So here the percentage change in price is again 50%, right? And here the percentage change in quantity demanded is 20%. So here the percentage change in price is greater than the percentage change in quantity demanded. Demand is said to be less elastic or inelastic. The curve is steeper, inclined more towards the y-axis. Can you see the inclination towards the y-axis? Because the percentage change in price is more than the percentage change in the quantity demanded. That is why it is inclined more towards the y-axis, right? Commodities like salt, vegetables, etc. generally have less elastic demand. Because I think vegetables, salt, etc., these are very essential commodities. These are commodities which we use in our everyday life. So they have less elastic demand. Even if the prices are going to rise, we are still going to buy that commodity. So the demand won't be greatly affected by it. Now, unitary elastic demand, when elasticity of demand is equal to 1. So when the percentage change in quantity demanded equals the percentage change in price, demand is unitary elastic. So can you see here there is a 50% change in the price, and here also there is a 50% change in the quantity demanded, right? So we say that the demand is unitary elastic. That means that the elasticity of demand is going to be 1 here, right? Because when we are going to divide 50% by 50, we get 1, fine. The demand curve is going to be a rectangular hyperbola here. Now what is a rectangular hyperbola? So it refers to a curve under which the total area at every point remains the same. So if I am going to calculate the area of this region, fine, it is going to be the same if I am going to calculate the area of probably this region, okay, or I'm going to calculate the area of this region. All the areas are going to be equal. So a curve under which the total area at every point remains the same is known as a rectangular hyperbola. And in case of the unitary elastic demand, we get the rectangular hyperbola. Commodities like scooters, refrigerators, etc., they generally have unitary elastic demand. So this is the summary of what we have learned, that when the elasticity of demand is infinity, we have infinite demand at the same price. And what would be the shape of the curve? It would be horizontal straight line parallel to the x-axis. If I talk about the perfectly inelastic case, here the elasticity of demand would be 0 and it would be vertical, okay, and it would be parallel to the y-axis. If it is greater than 1, it is going to be more flatter. If it is less than 1, it is going to be more steeper, which means it would be more inclined towards the y-axis. And in case when our elasticity of demand is equal to 1, the curve would be a rectangular hyperbola, right? So this is practically the summary of what we have learned just now. Remember this, that flatter the curve, more would be the elasticity. Which curve is flatter? So here DD is flatter, and if I say it to be D1 dy, it is steeper. Okay. So if your curve is flatter, it is going to be more elastic as compared to the steeper curve. Okay, you just have to remember this here. These are certain factors which affect the demand. Factors affecting the price elasticity of demand. First would be the nature of the commodity. If it is a necessity, like food grains or medicines, the elasticity of demand is generally inelastic as it is required for survival. If it is a comfort, like fan or refrigerator, they are generally elastic as consumption can be postponed. Luxuries, they are generally more elastic than comforts, right? Then we have availability of substitutes. If there are more substitutes in the market, the demand is going to be more elastic, because with a change in price, if I feel that it is very costlier or expensive for me, I'm going to shift to the other commodities. I'm going to reduce the consumption of that particular good in which the change in price occurred, and I'm going to shift to the other good. Okay. Since even a small price rise pushes buyers to switch. For example, if Pepsi, for example, if its price rises, I can switch to Coke. Okay. Goods with few or no substitutes have less elastic demand, like wheat or salt. As these goods cannot be substituted, the demand is generally inelastic or less elastic. Elasticity is generally lower for higher income groups and higher for lower income groups. Fine, remember that. Because people with higher income groups, they are less affected by the price changes, and that is why the elasticity is also lower. But when there is going to be a rise in the price, okay, it is going to affect the low income group. So the price elasticity is going to be higher in case of the lower income groups. Costly goods like laptop AC, they have highly elastic demand, and inexpensive goods like needle or matchbox, they have inelastic demand. So level of price also matters. Postponement of consumption. So goods whose consumption can be delayed, like biscuits, soft drinks, they have highly elastic demand. Okay. And goods with urgent demand, like life-saving drugs, they have inelastic demand because we need them for survival. So even if price changes, we are going to still buy them. Number of uses. Commodities with several uses like electricity tend to have elastic demand. A price fall brings in new, less urgent uses. Goods with few alternative uses have less elastic demand. So, for example, if the prices of electricity, they rise, okay, then I'm going to put, or I'm going to save my electricity, okay. But when there are goods which have no alternative uses, so they generally have less elastic demand. Share in the total expenditure. So, greater the proportion of income spent on a commodity, more elastic is its demand. Goods like salt, needles, soap, they are inelastic because we spend a very little price or very little income on them. Time period demand is generally inelastic in the short run, and they are more elastic in the long run. Okay, because habits are hard to change quickly. If I consume ice creams, okay, I can't change it in a day, I'm going to still consume it. Okay, whereas in the longer period of time, if I talk about, it is elastic. I can easily change my habits. Okay. Habit forming commodities like alcohol, tobacco, cigarettes, they become necessities for the consumers and they have less elastic demand. That basically means that even if the prices of alcohol or tobacco is going to rise, I'm still going to buy it because I'm addicted to them, because they become necessities for my life. So these are certain formulas that we have already talked about. We have talked about this method, this was the percentage method, this was the proportionate method. Okay. And we can also calculate the elasticity of demand to be 1 divided by slope of the demand curve into P divided by Q, right? So 1 upon slope of demand curve, okay, multiplied by P upon Q. This is the third formula. Now let us solve certain questions. These are certain numericals on elasticity of demand. Alright, let us see the question 1. So when the price of a good falls from rupees 25 to rupees 20. So you can also start noting things down. So P0, if I consider P0 to be the old price, okay. So it was 25 and now it has fallen to 20. The quantity demanded rises from 80 units to 100 units. So Q0 was initially 80 and now Q1 is 100. Calculate the percentage change in price and the percentage change in quantity demanded and hence find the price elasticity of demand. So first let's calculate the percentage change in price. We know the formula, delta P upon P into 100. So here this P is your P0. So what is delta P? P1 minus P0, which comes out to be minus 5. So 20 minus 25 is minus 5, divided by P0, which is 25, multiplied by 100 minus 20%. Now let us calculate the percentage change in quantity demanded. Delta Q divided by Q0 multiplied by 100. So see what is your delta Q? 100 minus 80, which is 20, divided by what was the initial quantity? 80 divided by 100. This comes out to be 25%. Now in order to calculate the elasticity of demand, what is the formula? Percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. So what is the percentage change in quantity demanded? 25%. What is the percentage change in price? Minus 20%. Therefore, it comes out to be minus 1.25. Now we take the absolute value, so it comes out to be minus 1. So it comes out to be positive 1.25. Now we see that it is greater than 1. So whenever elasticity of demand is greater than 1, what type of elasticity is it? It is highly elastic. Highly elastic. Fine. Now let us see the second question. The demand for a commodity is 60 units at a price of 12 per unit. So here Q0 is equal to 60 at P0, which is equal to 12. When the price falls to 10 per unit, P1 goes 10. The demand rises to 72 units. Calculate the price elasticity of demand using the proportionate method. So here we have to use the proportionate method. What was the proportionate method? Delta Q upon delta P multiplied by P upon Q. So let us calculate delta Q. Delta Q comes out to be 72 minus 60, which is 12. What would be the delta P? 10 minus 12, which is minus 2, multiplied by what was the original price? 12. And what was the original quantity? 60. Okay. Now cancel out. 12 5s are 60. 6 are 12. So this comes out to be minus 6 upon 5. This comes out to be minus 1.2. So here also elasticity of demand is greater than 1. So it is a highly elastic case. Okay. Alright, now let us solve this question. At a price of 15 per unit, that means that P0 is 15. 200 units of a good are demanded. So Q0 comes out to be 200. The price elasticity of demand for the good is given to us. Okay, so ED is given to us as minus 1.5. If the price rises to 18 per unit, that is P1 is 18, find the new quantity demanded. That means we need to find the value of Q1. Let us use the proportionate method here. So what does proportionate method basically says? That delta Q divided by delta P multiplied by P divided by Q. Okay. So let us substitute the values. Delta Q comes out to be Q1 minus Q0, which is 200. Okay. Because I had to find Q1, I am just assuming that the quantity has not been found, so I am just taking it to be Q1. Delta P comes out to be 18 minus 5, which is 3. The initial price is 15. And what is my initial quantity? 200. This is going to be equal to minus 1.5. So let us take ED to be minus 1.5. Fine. Now let us solve it here only. 3 5s are 15. Okay. 5 40s are. So what did I get? Q1 minus 200 is equal to upon 40 is equal to minus 1.5. So now I'm going to take this 40 here. I'm going to get Q1 minus 200 is equal to minus 1.5 multiplied by 40. Now what did I get? Q1 minus 200 is equal to minus 60. Fine, I'm erasing this step now. Let us now solve this part. So Q1 comes out to be minus 60 plus 200. So Q1 comes out to be 140. Okay, so this is the new quantity demanded. So in these types of questions, you would be given the price elasticity, and one of the things could be missing, like the initial price and the the new price or the new quantity demanded. Okay. Let us solve the fourth question. A shopkeeper sells notebooks at 50 each. So P1 is 50 and sells 40 notebooks per day. Q0, P0. When the price is reduced to 40, so now the price has been reduced to 40, sales rise to 56 notebooks per day. Calculate the price elasticity of demand and state whether the demand is elastic, inelastic, or unitary elastic. Fine, let us solve this. So let us use the percentage method this time. So percentage change in price. Delta P upon P multiplied by 100. What is delta P? 40 minus 50, which is 10. Minus 10. Initial price is 50 multiplied by 100. So this comes out to be minus 20%. Delta percentage change in quantity demanded. Delta Q upon Q multiplied by 100. 56 minus 40 gives us 16 upon initial quantity 40 into 100. This comes out to be 40%. Now let us divide percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in price. So I am doing it here. 40 divided by minus 20. This comes out to be minus 2, which is greater than 1. So the demand is elastic, highly elastic, because we consider the absolute value of minus 2, which is going to be 2, which is greater than 1. Therefore, elasticity of demand is going to be highly elastic. So I hope all of these questions are clear to you. If you have any doubts, you can always comment down below. I would love to help. Till then, let's meet in our next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.